Most players just can't improve, and it's all because they grind aim, edits, know the basic, but still they don't improve enough. Why? Because they keep making the same mistakes in fights, killing their progress. Today I'm gonna show you 5 key mistakes, how to avoid them and how actually boost your game so you can dominate in real matches. Let's jump into it. Let's start with the first mistake. It's basic, almost everyone knows about it, but it's also the reason why most players die. Right hand peek. It's simple. Fortnite is built in a way where you should always plan for the right side, and the player who peeks from the right hand side sees more than the one peeking from the left, even if you are standing in the exact same position. From the right side, you clearly see the enemy's model, hitting shots it's easy. From the left side, it's the opposite, the enemy sees you and you either see the model worse or you don't see him at all. That alone gives a huge advantage, but what do most players do? Instead of using this advantage, they play randomly, picking sometimes from the right, sometimes from the left, editing builds fully open, jumping into boxes every time and constantly playing 50-50s. But the idea is simple. Everything you do in a fight shall happen from the right hand side. Peek from the right, play the wall from the right, push boxes from the right side, and so on. Now an example. If an enemy is standing right in front of your box, editing the wall 50-50 and walking out of him or standing in the middle is a mistake. This applies to everything, windows, triangles, any type of edit and any situation where you're fully exposed. In this situation, their players see you perfectly and hitting you is not problem at all. Yes, you can take edit like that, but the position you're standing is completely wrong. So what's the correct way? For example, you edit the wall with a triangle, but instead of standing in the middle, you move to the left corner. So the enemy either sees you as little as possible or doesn't see you at all. Getting a perfect peek where the enemy doesn't see you at all is hard, but possible. And even if the enemy sees you just a little, that's way better than being full visible. Your goal is simple, choose the right angle, peek correctly and don't take damage. On the screen right now you see 2 examples. On the left, a player edits 50-50, stands fully open and doesn't think about anything. On the right, a player uses right hand peek, minimizes risk and tries not to take damage. Want to take a 50-50 edit? First ask yourself, is it really worth it? One more important point. Even if you peek correctly, you should never stay open after taking a shot. Remember the simple formula. Edit the wall, take the shot, immediately scroll the wall back. Keep it up for a couple of seconds because after the edit the wall is almost always low HP. And if you don't close the wall immediately, the enemy can either peek you back or just jump into your box. So the rule is simple, peek, shoot, close it immediately. And the main rule, if you don't have to play 50-50, don't do it. 50-50s are acceptable only when you catch the enemy on a hard timing or he is completely not ready to shoot, and even then it's still risky. One jump into box or one 50-50 will edit, even if you're confident and the enemy can just hit you for max damage in the head and the game is over. In every other situation, right hand peek is less risk, higher win rate. So how do you learn this? These are special maps for it, for example Raiders map with specific right hand peek scenarios, the link will be in the description. But honestly the best way is to start doing it in real matches. Always, everywhere, on autopilot. Remember this. This is fundamental, without it you won't go far in tournaments. And if you actually start using right hand peek correctly, you'll have a massive advantage over players who are still playing 50-50s. The second common mistake, playing from only one box. The problem is that during fights a lot of players playing from a single box, instead of always being at least 2 boxes. Of course, if you're low on materials that's okay, but that's a different problem. If your box is getting pushed, you should always have 2 boxes or more built. Simply put, you need space, so if the enemy takes your wall or something goes wrong, you actually have somewhere to go, into the second box. If you are standing in only one box, the enemy takes your wall and you have nowhere to escape. While you're trying to build a second box, you already taken damage or you are dead. But if you already have 2 boxes from the start and the enemy takes your wall, you calmly move into the second box with no extra risk. And then you use that advantage. You play from 2 boxes, not just one. From 2 boxes it's much easier to take unexpected peeks, get the enemy off guard, take control of the fight. And here's an important point. If you build a box, it should never be empty. Inside there should always be a cone or ramp, because if you don't do that, the enemy can push and place his cone or ramp inside your box, and that's it. If the enemy jump into your box 50-50, you always have a place to fall back to. With only one box that's way harder, because you simply don't have enough space. The main idea is to create as much space as possible if you can. If you can, get maximum out of the minimum. But that doesn't mean that if you're full materials, you should build 20 boxes, that's dumb. You need to calculate your builds so they last until the end of the game, or at least until the next refresh. When you have space, you can safely back up, take more unexpected peeks, gain control over the enemy. The same applies when you're the one pushing. A huge mistake is pushing an enemy without no escape plan. If you get boxes, the fight is over. So when you push, first create space with boxes for yourself. Play from right hand pick and keep the 2 boxes rule on autopilot. You deal damage and need to heal? Build 2 boxes and that's it. This is fundamental and it actually helps to win fights if you know how to play from it. It's obvious, pushing a player with 1 box is way easier than pushing someone who has 2 or 3 boxes. Remember, 1 box risk, 2 or more advantage. And this rule still applies after a kill. You kill the player, don't instantly loot his box. First build 1 or 2 boxes for yourself, only then loot. If someone shows up unexpectedly, you have somewhere to go. The third mistake is panic, one of the most common and one of the most deadly mistakes. Situation feels familiar. The enemy hits you for a huge amount of damage, like minus 190, you're on low HP, and the first thing you do, you panic. You try to run away, you don't even have time to heal, but you still try to heal anyway. The enemy sees this, he knows you're scared, and he starts pushing even harder. He gives you no time, no space to heal, you start doing random things and you die, purely because of panic. If this sounds familiar, there's a solution. If he's pushing you, that means he has timings, and if he has timings, you have them too. Even with 1 HP, 1 accurate shot can stop the push, force the enemy to back off, buy you time to heal. Your mistake is thinking, I'm low, I can shoot, I need to heal first. You can shoot, and you should. This doesn't mean running away is always wrong. Sometimes running away is the correct play. But if the enemy doesn't let you leave, he won't stop you until you push back. Even a small amount of damage can completely change the fight. The logic is simple. He dealt a lot of damage, you're low HP, so he is going to apply maximum pressure. But when the enemy jumps into a box, comes through a ramp, or makes an aggressive move, that's the moment where you need to try catch him. The idea is simple. When you're getting pushed, try to deal some safe damage instead of just running. And if the situation is reserved to your full HP and he's slow, don't relax. Just remember how many times this happened. He's 1 HP, you're full HP, and you die to 1 shot because you stopped paying attention. Why? Because you thought the fight was already over, and in Fortnite 1 moment of carelessness and the game is over. Even with 1 HP you always have a chance if you play smart. The key is simple, don't give up too early, don't panic, and always look for a moment to fight back. The fourth mistake is poor timing awareness. Here what usually happens, you break in an enemy's box trying to take the wall and you swing your pickaxe twice in a row. And right at the moment the enemy edits the wall and just kills you. The mistake is simple, you're playing too predictably and you don't feel the timings. If you can see through the walls that the enemy is about to edit, doesn't matter if it's a wall or a cone, instead of going for the second pickaxe swing, it's way better to pull out the shotgun and be ready. Usually it looks like this, you hit the wall once with your pickaxe, instantly pull out your shotgun and wait. He edits, you're already aimed in and ready to shoot. Yes, it doesn't work every single time, some players know you're waiting with a pump, but in many cases players still go for the edit. And if he doesn't edit, you just break the wall and keep playing. But there's another important mistake. Sometimes the enemy doesn't edit at all, he just holds his shotgun out, baiting you to break the wall. At the moment you break it and try to place your own wall, he hits you with a pre-fire shotgun shoot. Or even if the wall is already yours and you're the one editing, the enemy might already be fully aimed at you. And when someone is already aiming in, the chance that they hit you is much higher. If the enemy is aimed at you, you have 2 options. Either go for a super clean, precise pick with perfect timings, which is hard. or mix him up and pick from the place he doesn't expect. And it doesn't matter if you're pushing his box or he pushing yours. You should always watch the enemy throw the wall, what weapon he is holding, where is he looking, and what he's likely to do in the next few seconds. If you clearly see the player is not going to aid it, you can break the wall with 2 pickaxe swings. Just be ready to pull out your shotgun at any moment. Simply put, whenever you break in a box, no matter how, always keep this in mind. The enemy might aid it and shoot you, or he might bait you with a pre-fire. You need to change your rhythm more often and avoid playing the same default pattern so you can confuse your opponent. Pull out your shotgun more often when the enemy thinks you're still going to keep breaking the wall, and always watch the enemy throw the wall to predict his next move. Do this and you'll gain a huge advantage from it. The fifth and final mistake is taking unnecessary fights in tournaments. This is a very common mistake if you already have full materials, great loot, good search and everything you need. Fighting someone just because it's completely pointless. Yes, there is a situation where fight is necessary. You missing loot, you need search, or it's the only way to survive. In those cases it makes sense, but the real problem is different. A lot of players make mistakes in tournaments because they force fights that they don't need and that aren't profitable, because of the zone, bad positioning, or too many players around the fight. So in reality you take a huge risk, gain nothing valuable in return, come out on the fight with nothing. Or in the worst case, die and throw the entire game because of a stupid mistake. You could say, but a lot of players take random fight and it works for them. And that's true, but here's the difference. They fight because, even if they fully looted and don't need anything, they already have a dominance from the start. For example, they dealt massive damage before the fight started, they have a dominant position like high ground, there are no other teams nearby, good timing, and most importantly they can disengage if something goes wrong. That's it. All you need to do is use your brain. Not I see player, I fight him. The point is simple. If a fight doesn't give you real value, doesn't solve a problem and forces you to take unnecessary risks, it's better not to take it, unless it's your only option in that situation. And if you need kills, you can always get them in late game during tournaments. And yes, the first game of a tournament is an exception. Everyone is weekend in the first game, it's pure chaos and there's a fights everywhere. But in all other games, fights must be chosen wisely, not taken just because you saw someone. If you don't understand what mistake you are making, watch your replays from the enemy's POV. Ask yourself, why did I die here? Sometimes you'll see it, sometimes you won't, and that's okay. If this video helped you understand what's actually holding you back in Fortnite and stopping your improvement, make sure to drop a like, subscribe and comment which mistakes you make the most. I'll see you in the next video and peace.